Have you ever noticed how the world feels louder than it used to? The noise is everywhere. Notifications blinking on your phone, headlines screaming for your attention, people rushing past with eyes glazed from endless demands. In moments like these, it's easy to feel as if you're being pulled apart by invisible strings, tugged this way by obligations, that way by distractions. And yet hidden beneath the clamor, there is something the ancient Stoics discovered long ago, a secret not buried in books or locked in temples, but alive in the very fabric of your own mind. They called it mastery of the self. Not domination over others, not control of the markets, not bending the world to your will, but something far more powerful. The art of mastering your own thoughts, your own reactions, your own inner world. To the Stoics, this wasn't just a philosophy. It was a lifeline, a path to tranquility in the middle of chaos, a compass when storms break overhead. Pause for a moment and imagine this. No matter what the day throws at you, insults, delays, unexpected losses, there is a part of you that remains untouched, steady, unshaken. That's the promise Stoicism whispers through the ages. And it's what you're about to uncover step by step. The truth is, this practice is not about hiding from life or numbing yourself to its joys and pains. It's about engaging with life fully, but with a clarity that shields you from being swept away. With resilience that doesn't crack under pressure. With a presence that allows you to thrive rather than merely survive. Today, you and I are going to walk this path together. With the wisdom of the Stoics as our guide, you'll see how to navigate the storms of the modern world, not as a victim of its chaos, but as a master of your own mind. Let's be honest. How many choices in your life have been shaped by what other people might think? You hesitate before wearing that shirt because someone might laugh. You hold back from speaking an idea in a meeting because you imagine the smirk on a colleague's face. You even change the way you walk, the way you smile, the way you dream, all because of invisible opinions floating in the air. It's exhausting, isn't it? And yet most of us live under this weight without realizing it. The Stoics warned us about this trap. They said the only thing that truly belongs to you, the only thing always within your power, is your mind. Your reactions, your judgments, everything else. The applause, the criticism, the sideways glances that belongs to them, not you. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor who carried the burden of ruling Rome, wrote in his private journal, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Imagine the freedom he tasted in those words. A man surrounded by senators, scheming generals, pressuring citizens, demanding, and yet he reminded himself that peace could only come from within. Here's the shift Stoicism offers you. Instead of building your life like a house on quicksand, endlessly adjusting your walls to the shifting winds of approval, you build it on stone, on your own values, on what you know to be right. Suddenly, the judgments of others lose their grip. They may sting for a moment, but they don't dictate your path. And this isn't about arrogance or shutting everyone out. Feedback has its place when it sharpens you, when it aligns with your deeper purpose. But so much of what people say is just noise projections of their own fears, their own insecurities. To let those voices define you is to hand them the keys to your freedom. Picture it instead as a garden. Your mind is the soil. The seeds are your thoughts and convictions. Every day, people toss weeds into your garden, doubts, criticisms, careless words. You don't have to let them take root. You choose what to water. You choose which plants grow tall. That's the quiet strength Stoicism invites you to practice. And when you begin to live this way, something shifts. You stop scanning faces for approval. You stop twisting yourself into shapes that please everyone but you. Instead, You stand where you are rooted in conviction. That's when people notice a new presence in you. Not someone chasing validation, but someone who already carries peace. But here's something most people never realize. Your emotions aren't commands, they're signals. Think about the last time anger surged through you. Your chest tightened, your breathing quickened, your voice sharpened. In that moment, it felt as though anger was in control, pulling your strings. But the Stoics would say no emotion, no matter how fierce, has the right to dictate your next move. It's a messenger, not a master. Seneca, who lived through political turmoil and exile, taught that every hardship is an invitation, a chance to practice courage, patience, temperance. Instead of asking, "Why me?" the Stoic asks, "How can this sharpen me?" This reframe transforms pain into a proving ground. Obstacles stop being dead ends. They become stepping stones. Imagine a soldier marching through the bitter cold of a Roman winter campaign. Supplies run low, enemies circle, fear gnaws at the camp. A lesser man breaks under the weight of misery. A Stoic, however, sees the storm as a training ground. Each shiver is a lesson in endurance. Each night of hunger, an exercise in self-control. And when the campaign ends, he emerges not only alive, but forged stronger by what tried to break him. Now bring it to your own life. The colleague who undermines you at work. The breakup that leaves you reeling. The illness that steals your strength. None of these feel like gifts when they land in your lap. But if you look closely, each one contains a challenge wrapped in disguise. A chance to practice patience, to grow compassion, to build resilience that will serve you long after the wound has closed. Epictetus put it simply, "Men are not disturbed by things, but by the views which they take of them." Pain comes not from the obstacle itself, but from the story we tell about it. Change the story, and the obstacle changes shape. A traffic jam isn't a prison, it's a pause. A harsh word isn't a verdict, it's a mirror. An illness isn't an end, it's a recalibration. And the truth is, this resilience isn't built in one grand, heroic moment. It's built brick by brick, day by day. Each evening, the Stoics practiced reflection. They'd sit and ask, "What tested me today? How did I respond? Where could I have chosen virtue instead of reaction?" This simple ritual was like sharpening a sword. Small, consistent strokes that kept the edge keen. As you begin to do this yourself, you'll notice a shift. The same events that once left you spiraling now feel like training sessions. Life's hardships don't crush you, they forge you. Your emotions stop controlling you and instead become raw materials for your growth. That's not denial, that's direction. Pause. And notice what story you're telling yourself right now. Two people can face the exact same situation and walk away with completely different experiences. One sits in traffic, gripping the wheel, heat rising in their chest, cursing every car that dares to move slower than they want. Another sits in that same traffic, but instead of rage, they press play on an audiobook, take a breath, and let the moment turn into unexpected learning. The event didn't change, only the perception did. This is the Stoic superpower. Epictetus taught men are disturbed not by things, but by the view which they take of them. What unsettles you isn't the world itself, it's the lens you use to see it. A lens colored by expectation, judgment, assumption. And here's the secret, you have the power to swap that lens at any moment. Picture a Roman marketplace, crowded stalls, merchants shouting, a thief slipping past, a sudden rain drenching everyone. One man storms home furious that his toga is soaked. Another laughs, takes it as a reminder that nature answers to no schedule and carries on. Same rain, different story. One lives in misery, the other in freedom. That's what reframing is. not pretending the storm isn't there, not denying the sting of an insult or the weight of a delay, but choosing the angle from which you'll meet it. Choosing whether to interpret a critique as an attack on your worth or as feedback that can sharpen you. Choosing whether a setback signals failure or simply redirection. And it starts small. Catching the moment when your mind leaps to the worst-case scenario. Pausing before you let anger script the next chapter. Asking yourself, is this thought accurate? Is there another way to see it? That single pause cracks open the door to freedom. The Stoics didn't use the language of cognitive restructuring the way psychologists do today, but the principle is the same. By questioning the first story your mind writes, you weaken its hold. By rewriting that story consciously, you reclaim power over your experience. Think of it like holding a camera. You can point it at the mess, the flaws, the chaos, and that's all you'll capture. Or you can shift it slightly, and suddenly the same scene reveals light texture and beauty you missed before. The frame changes everything, and when you practice this daily perception, stops being a prison. It becomes a tool. Every moment, no matter how ordinary or frustrating, turns into an opportunity to practice mastery of your mind. That's presence. That's power. This is enough. This moment is enough. When you strip life down to its essentials, you begin to see what the Stoics meant by living according to nature. It doesn't mean retreating into the woods forever, nor does it mean abandoning every comfort. It means aligning yourself with the rhythm of the world instead of constantly fighting against it. Marcus Aurelius wrote about this often. To him, every person was part of a grand symphony, a note in the music of the universe. When one note tries to play louder or offbeat, the harmony breaks. And isn't that what so many of us do? We resist the natural flow of things. We want summer to last forever, careers to rise without faltering, relationships to never change. And when nature moves differently, we suffer. Picture the Roman emperor in his tent, weary from campaigns, pausing to write by candlelight. He reminds himself that people will lie, cheat, and fail him tomorrow, and that this too is part of nature. To expect anything else is to live in denial. By accepting the truth of what is, he frees himself from bitterness. That acceptance becomes strength. And in your own life, the same holds true. You cannot control whether the seasons turn, whether people disappoint, whether outcomes twist beyond your reach. But you can choose to flow with reality rather than grind yourself against it. To eat in rhythm with the seasons. To rest when your body demands it. To let go of desires that aren't truly yours, but borrowed from society's endless appetite for more. The Stoics invite you to ask, is this pursuit aligned with my nature? Or is it an illusion I've inherited? That question cuts through the noise. You don't need to chase every trend, every luxury, every status marker. You need what nourishes your body, what strengthens your character, what allows you to contribute to the greater whole. The rest is excess. And here's the paradox. When you embrace simplicity, life doesn't shrink, it expands. The cup of water tastes sweeter. The morning sunlight feels richer. The friendships you tend grow deeper. Because you're no longer sprinting after what is artificial, you have the capacity to notice what's real. Living according to nature isn't resignation. It's not giving up your ambition. It's aligning ambition with necessity, with virtue, with the steady rhythm of the world. When you move with that rhythm, the struggle eases. Simplicity turns into freedom. And suddenly this moment, just as it is, becomes enough. If you've ever felt like a slave to your own impulses, you already know why the Stoics valued discipline so highly. Think about the times you've promised yourself, I'll just watch one more episode, or I'll start saving next month, or tomorrow I'll finally wake up early. But tomorrow comes, and the cycle repeats. Each time you give in, it feels harmless in the moment, but over time, the quiet weight of regret builds. The Stoics saw this clearly. Without discipline, you're not free. You're chained to every passing desire. Seneca put it bluntly, we either rule our passions or we're ruled by them. To him, discipline wasn't punishment. It was self-respect, a way of proving every day that you belong to yourself. Picture a young Roman senator invited to a lavish banquet. The tables groan under roasted meats, fine wine flows endlessly, laughter grows louder as the night stretches on. Most men gorge themselves, stumbling home, bloated, dulled, enslaved to appetite. But the Stoic quietly chooses restraint. He eats enough to be nourished, drinks enough to be steady, and leaves with his mind clear, his dignity intact. That is freedom, not in denying pleasure altogether, but in never being mastered by it. Now picture it in modern terms. You walk past a store window, tempted by something you can't afford. You hover over your phone, ready to buy with a single tap. You stay up past midnight scrolling when your body begs for rest. Each moment is a fork in the road, discipline or indulgence, freedom or slavery. And here's the truth the Stoics understood. Discipline builds strength the way a blacksmith tempers steel. Every time you choose long-term alignment over short-term ease, you're hammering yourself into shape. Saving instead of spending recklessly. Rising early to move your body. Choosing silence over gossip. These small acts accumulate, forging a self that cannot be bent by impulse. But discipline isn't just for you. The Stoics reminded us that our actions ripple outward. When you practice restraint, you create stability not only in your own life but in the lives around you. Your children, your friends, your colleagues. They all feel the steadiness of someone who is not tossed about by every whim. Self-discipline, then, isn't about deprivation. It's about direction. It's about saying yes to what matters and no to what weakens you. It's about walking through a world of temptations and leaving with your freedom intact. And when you live this way, each day becomes proof that you are in fact your own master. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Confine yourself to the present." Sit with that for a second. Confine yourself not as a punishment, but as liberation. Because think about how much of your life is wasted in places you cannot touch. You replay yesterday's mistakes until the shame burns fresh again. You fast forward to tomorrow's uncertainties until the anxiety coils tight in your chest. Meanwhile, the only thing you can ever truly touch, this moment right now, slips away unnoticed. The Stoics knew this was the great thief of life. Not death, not loss, not hardship, but distraction. Aurelius himself, despite the crushing weight of empire, reminded himself to do one thing at a time and to do it fully. That's presence. That's power. Picture him at his desk in a dimly lit chamber, scrolls piled high, advisors pacing outside the door. He closes his eyes, inhales, and reminds himself one task, one decision, one breath at a time. Even the Emperor of Rome understood that the present was the only ground he could stand on. Now look at your own life. How often do you rush through your day, juggling messages, tasks, and worries like a performer with too many knives in the air? Multitasking feels efficient, but it leaves you drained and unfocused. The Stoic way is simpler, sharper. Immerse yourself in the task before you and let everything else wait. When you eat, just eat. When you walk, just walk. When you listen, just listen. And here's the paradox. When you slow down into the present, time doesn't shrink, it expands. A 5-minute walk becomes rich with details, the sound of leaves, the rhythm of your breath, the warmth of sunlight on your skin. Mundane moments transform into vivid experiences. To practice this, you don't need hours of silence on a mountaintop. Start small. Notice when your mind runs ahead or drags behind. Gently call it back. Be here now. A few minutes of mindfulness, a pause in conversation, to really hear someone's words, a deep breath before answering. These are Stoic acts of presence. And the truth is, a life is nothing more than a string of present moments. Neglect them, and you neglect your life. Honor them, and you step into a depth of living that most people never touch. That's why Marcus wrote his reminder to himself, and why you should carry it too. It's not about standing alone, it's about standing together. The Stoics understood something many of us forget in our chase for independence. We are not built to live cut off from others. Marcus Aurelius, despite his position as emperor, reminded himself often that every human is part of the same body. To harm another was to wound the whole. To live apart was to weaken the structure. Picture Rome's bustling forum citizens, bartering soldiers, marching philosophers, debating under colonnades. Every person different in role and stature, but woven together into one living organism. Remove one thread and the fabric frays. The Stoics believed the same truth applies to us. We find strength and purpose not by isolating, but by contributing to the larger whole. In your own life, think about the times community carried you. A friend who called when you were low. A mentor who spoke a word that shifted your path. A group that reminded you you're not alone. These moments anchor us in ways no amount of solitary strength can. And yet in modern times, it's easy to drift into isolation. We scroll instead of speaking. We withdraw instead of reaching out. But the Stoic way calls us back to connect, to participate, to give as much as we receive. Community is not just a comfort, it's a duty. Because every act of patience, kindness, or wisdom you offer ripples outward, strengthening the whole. And here's the beauty: community takes many shapes. A neighbor you greet each morning. A local group where you share ideas. An online circle where strangers walk the same philosophical road. Each one is a chance to practice virtue in real time: compassion, honesty, courage. The Stoics didn't see community as a cage that limited individuality. They saw it as a field where individuality could bear fruit, where your unique character adds to the nourishment of others. To retreat into isolation is to deny your role in the symphony. To step into community is to embrace it fully. So ask yourself, where can you contribute today? Whose burden can you lighten? What wisdom can you share? What ear can you offer? When you live this way, you don't just grow stronger, you help others grow strong beside you. And together, that is a resilience no storm can break. Pause, breathe, and remember, the storm outside is nothing compared to the calm you can build within. From the very beginning, we talked about the noise, the chaos of a world that pulls you in every direction. Notifications, judgments, pressures, fears. The Stoics faced storms of their own: exile, betrayal, war, disease. And yet across centuries, their words reach us with the same steady truth: the only thing you ever truly command is your mind. You've walked with Marcus Aurelius, reminding yourself to hold power only over your thoughts, not over outside events. You've stood beside Seneca, reframing obstacles as chances to grow stronger instead of weaker. You've listened to Epictetus, challenging your perceptions, choosing to see events through a lens of wisdom rather than despair. You've learned to live closer to nature, to value simplicity, to master discipline, to anchor yourself in the present, and to root yourself in community. Each practice is a thread. Woven together, they form a fabric strong enough to carry you through whatever storms break overhead. This isn't theory. It's not philosophy reserved for scholars. It's the living art of freedom, one choice, one response, one moment at a time. And here's the reminder: you don't need to master all of this in a single day. The Stoics themselves stumbled. They doubted. They failed. But each time they returned to the path. and that's what matters. Not perfection, but persistence. So tonight as you lay down, or tomorrow as you rise, remember this peace isn't something you chase in the world. It's something you cultivate in the quiet of your own mind. And when you tend that inner garden, when you choose presence, discipline, perspective, and connection, you carry a calm that no chaos can ever shake. That's not escape. That's mastery. And it's yours to practice beginning now.